Good evening. And I'll play the intro.
I don't hear anything.
Me either.
Is it really quiet?
Pretty sure I have music to this.
I think so. Sing something.
There's no audio coming through.
I think it's.
Oh, no. Okay, then.
Oh, I hear it.
Well, it's probably picking it up really quiet from my headphones.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the failed audio connection.
It's a little dated.
It's because I screen shared it rather than having it uploaded. That's why. I was hoping it'd work, but no, I was just rushing trying to get that done.
We're just winging it, folks.
Yeah.
We'll do it live.
Yeah, we're doing it live. Welcome all the good people in the chat. It's just us in there at the moment. I'll say a quick hello in the chat in case anyone is watching. We'll wait for the people to catch up. Who's still got their audio feed? I can hear it in the background.
It wasn't me, I don't think.
It was me. It was
Grace.
me.
Oh, schoolboy error, or schoolgirl error, I should say. Yeah. Come on. I know it's been a while, but we can at least...
I'm rusty, okay? I'm rusty. Yeah. I don't even have headphones on, and I know that's a faux pas on podcasts.
Uh-oh.
Well, hopefully we won't get too much feedback and crossover, and maybe we'll be able to pull our fingers out and be a bit more professional, you know. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I keep saying it. Welcome back, folks. Welcome to all the good people. Yes, I'm borrowing a phrase from Jeff C. R.I.P. Jeff C. It's the major reason why we started doing these shows a couple of years ago, as a remembrance of Jeff's work and the times we used to get together and do hangouts like this, similar to this, and one in particular, the big picture, and we'll do it live, that Jeff used to do regularly. So we come back together every now and then and do the ice cream social. But it's been a little while. I think it's been about 8 months since the last one, something like that. I did look for it on my Odyssey channel. It is there.
It was July.
July, right, yeah. So a little bit of time. But, you know, there's been a lot of stuff happening in the world, hasn't there? So having a delay here and there is understandable. Hopefully people get the idea. But we still keep coming back. We're still here. Oh, I'll have to adjust the info under the video as well now to add your channel as well, Grace. Because I was copying and pasting earlier and put the links in. But you made a surprise visit, so I was like, oh, I don't have the link there for that. Make sure to put that in. I'm sure people can find your channel easy enough on YouTube, unless they're, you know, short of a few fingers to be able to type on the keyboard.
I'm currently sharing this broadcast on my YouTube.
Oh, right now?
Right now. I'm trying to anyway.
Oh.
Finally got my headphones on. I'm with it over here.
Oh, professional standard. Excellent. Well, one of the main things we like to do with these shows, other than we'll just chat in general, because this is a conversation. It's not a documentary. It's not a presentation necessarily. We might do some presenting, you know, if we've got some links to share and screen shares to show, things like that. But it is about having a conversation about a lot of the things that have been going on, not just in recent events like within the past few months or even a couple of years, but some of this stuff is long-running agendas and narratives that we often revisit and check up on and look at new evidence that's coming out. And one of the main areas that we like to cover is biotech and genetics, because this is an element of technology and the technocracy, the attempt that they're whatever you would like to call them, the cabal, the controllers, the elites, whatever they want to call themselves. This is something that they've been working towards for many years, decades, maybe even more, a couple of centuries. And part of their manipulations of the public and the storytelling that they like to use to influence the public's thinking and the global conversation is to keep people focused on certain areas of technology that are already being outpaced by other areas that are not often spoken about, or they deliberately keep them as quiet as they can in the media. They prefer people to just not know too much about a lot of this stuff. So they prefer to get everyone interested in things like ChatGPT or some electronic implant, some circuitry, some silicon put inside your body, that kind of thing. Whereas the more advanced levels of technology that they are attempting to apply come more from the biological and genetics area of science rather than the electronics and silicon based.
But what's terrifying to me is that I understand this OpenAI a couple years ago anyway, when one of the things that Billy Goat Gates approached them about was applying their tools toward biology, learning biology. And that's horrible because it's absolutely terrifying that what the tiny stuff is doing to us all and is going to be doing, and it's everywhere. And I don't know how to stop it short of shutting everything down. I don't know anybody that could shut everything down, but nothing could stay up because it would just take one little guy in his garage to just wreck it all. And they have democratized and decentralized all of the tech needed to make the scariest things, and even just tiny things. Who knows what happens downstream in your body because you're a chemical cascade. And it's terrible. And it's not just ChatGPT. They had the image ones like we were talking before we went live, the deep fake aspect and everything. There's radio GPT where they have fake people doing radio shows. Like they just put in the inputs of what they want. There's music ones where they're trying to like take the beautiful brains of artists and have them want to play with these tools to make them better. Like I look every time I see something that somebody's done, like asking it or doing anything, I picture people type, and I wanted to make a video, but I didn't because I'm slow. I picture people typing into a computer, and I'm typing in the air here, typing into a computer into these ChatGPT and all these other things. And I picture that System of a Down, that prison song, like we're helping. We're helping. Yeah. Stop helping, please. My gosh, it's terrible. And then I wonder sometimes, like, can we do a like poison the well? Would it be okay if you were in there and you were just feeding it crap? But I don't know. I think that I think it would help it identify crap. Then I don't. Yeah,
it would help it refine its data to be able to analyze things, and in a way that could be beneficial in the sense of it can tell the difference between somebody taking the piss out of it and somebody asking a genuine question. That would be good if what you have to is more knowledge, but that can just as easily be applied in a malicious manner.
Oh, and I know the tech is the double-edged sword, but it's way sharper on the other side. And then it'll just be dull on our side, and we'll only get to use whatever is they're going to allow. I really don't see anything good that can come of it. And then people are.
Well, I was just going to say, it is definitely a double-edged sword, but the problem is that sword is being wielded by them, not us.
Yep.
It's not true. The system is not truly decentralized in the sense that it's open source software that anyone can make use of or alter, etc., etc. It's proprietary software.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awful. It really is. And I know, like, what we see and what we get to use is they've had for a while. Yeah, they've got they've got it in the background, and we've known for years that they have like their simulation world and all that stuff, and we're making everything richer for them. I just wish we'd stop. I mean,
I agree with
really.
what you were saying, or at least implying. You can salt your data. You can interact with those software systems and give it crap data. You feed it crap deliberately to mess it up. But as we said, that can in a way help it.
Yeah.
So the only recourse you're left with, I feel anyway, and this is what I've been trying to do for the past few years now, is just don't interact with it. Don't give it any information.
Yeah.
Because it's like the typical metaphor of the beast. You keep feeding it, it's just going to get bigger and stronger and bigger and stronger.
Oh
So
yeah.
you have to just stop feeding it.
Yeah. How many times like can people do that? That this person does not exist, and then tweak it and help it realize, no, there's too many fingers. No, there's too many hands, and they're in weird shapes. Like that, the people's feedback on things, it's just terrible. And like people are like, oh, it's so far before the AI will be sentient. It won't know everything or anything, and it's not even the point. Like Kurzweil even says that, or he said years ago, that if you can't tell the difference, does it even matter? Does it matter if it's sentient? And then that Ben Goertzel guy, for that how they were just saying the other day, I saw that they were saying that ChatGPT is starting to show signs of that, the AGI, the general intelligence, and that doesn't even have to be a big, like one big program that can do it. That Ben Goertzel guy said before that it's just like tiny little pieces that get good at their job, and we help them get good at their job, and then they have the master orchestrators in the middle that help make all those things work together to make this giant thing. And it's going to be fast. I think this is going to come up really fast on us because people are playing with this like crazy, and they didn't give it to us in like let's see what it'll do. No, they knew what they were doing.
And they've pitched it especially to the younger generation.
Yeah.
Oh, you can incorporate this into your life. Why would you even need to go to college when you just write this essay and this essay? And also, it's taking up all the job. I keep seeing all these people who have these AI portraits where instead of going to a photographer and getting your portrait done, you can just enter all your facial expressions into the AI and it'll
do headshots. I just saw the headshot.
It'll give you 100 headshots and they're all great. You might have 8 fingers on one hand, but they're all great.
Yeah.
And I keep seeing it even in like the financial sphere where you can use the AI to make money. But I mean, I heard on the radio the other day, conservative talk radio, and as you're saying this, I'm thinking, okay, if you have AI news anchors like Anonymous just posted in the chat, wouldn't that behoove them? the controllers? I mean, you're getting rid of the variables here. You're getting rid of the people who would say, shout out their window and say, get mad. Like, you're taking everything human and every variable of saying enough is enough away from the person.
Okay, I'll just jump in as well and mention Media Bear. Hello, mate. Glad to see you there. Thank you for all your fantastic music. Go and check out their channel. On hard to see, and I think you're still on YouTube as well. And we will be talking in a way that hopefully people will see there are positives, there are options, there are ways you can approach this stuff. This is not about making people afraid. It's not doom porn or anything like that. But you have to be realistic and look at this stuff for what it is. But one of the best ways of dealing with it is satire. Satire and parody. You can see the stupidness of a lot of the things they're doing. And I feel you can see the hubris of how they seem to truly believe that not only we're all stupid, but we're also blind to what they're putting in front of us.
It's like the shiny toys, like the new.
Yeah. It's like a little child who thinks they're tricking the adult. They go, oh, look at me, I can vanish. It's like, no, I can still see you. The system, the controllers are so wrapped up in their own little world, their own ideological dimension or pocket dimension. They're so filled with hubris. I think half the time they do this stuff thinking that we're just such dummies we won't realize what's being done or what's being shown to us, you know.
Well, one way they're selling it to people too is the that they're saying, "Oh, it's not going to take away your job completely. You're going to be freed up." Like they were, I just saw on that one tech channel that I watched. They were talking to a lady who's a big tech enthusiast, but she's also a psychologist, and she's like, "It's not going to replace my job. It's going to take away those little bitty things that I don't want to do. That are just like we follow steps in the questions we ask, and it can do that for me, and then I can do the really creative and helpful part." Sure, you can. Sure, you'll get to.
That's like you were both just mentioning, you know, we are feeding it the information that it needs to become what they want. Yeah. So the way we are being made interested in it, you know, they're selling it to the younger generation in particular as being the perfect convenience, because that seems to be the key. I want to say it's a keystone of a lot of the narrative manipulation that they've got away with for quite a few years now, is they appeal to people's what is basically their laziness. You know, they offer us systems that create convenience. And of course, from a lot of people, pretty much the majority of us, I think, this is true. You know, if you can get some time back for yourself in your day, you like that, you know, that's great. So something is convenient, it gets the job done for you, which means you can do something you want to do, you know. And they have predicated the narrative on that desire, right? But if you extrapolate that desire, where do you end up? You end up in that kind of Wall-E, if you remember that movie called Wall-E. You're just a blob in a floating chair that does nothing. You know, you just float around consuming media that they present to you. You know, you're not actually living a life, really. You just become a consuming battery that feeds back energy into their system.
Another example of where this sort of world could go is the negative side of that book I've mentioned several times, that I think it's Marge Piercy, The Woman on the Edge of Time. The techno version of the world that she shows in that is everybody modifying themselves so like they have really big butts. I've seen people on the TikTok, you know, putting all these, like, making themselves these super like tweaked bodies, and the food comes out of the food dispenser. You know, everything is the convenience world, and it's ugly. It's the bad world in that book. Even.
Give me convenience or give me death.
Yeah, and death.
Don't worry, they'll make your death convenient for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I mean, we're broadcasting to YouTube, so for tonight's live stream, we'll try and be a little bit careful. We'll do the dance through the minefield that is current YouTube policy. But yeah, I think people are very much aware of things that have been going on over the last couple of years. That is literally that. They have made people's death convenient, certainly for them. And they like to present it to you as if it's, you know, it's convenient for you. You just come down to this drop-in centre and we go jeep, and there you go. You've had your thing and off you go home, and within a short time you're gone. That's very convenient,
demise pill, right?
Yeah.
I was telling Anonymous in an email the one day that he was showing the suicide pods, and it was in my mind when I was seeing that, it was bringing to mind those, I keep seeing the commercials for those countertop composters where it's soil by the end of the day or whatever. And I'm like, well, there you go. And then your neighbors could come by and get the soil so that they can go and
compost grandma.
yeah, right there, all in one.
You could feed the biomass into your 3D organic printer system.
Oh yeah.
We'll just turn it right back into food and you can eat it again.
Yeah.
The
You feed everything to
system.
the microbes. Everything. Yep. I mean, all the problems that we have right now. Again, I was just telling Anonymous this, that all the problems that they can feed all our problems to the microbes. And, you know, I just had mentioned to you, Van, about the ones that they had years ago that Jules had talked about that it was heavy metals. They ate heavy metals and they pooped out gold. There was a new article on that just a few days ago too.
Oh,
I
nice.
just saw
Of
it because
course.
my phone showed it to me. Yeah. Like they'll clean up all the industrial waste sites, all the superfunds, the landfills, which is why Bill Gates no doubt owns he does own more than half or something of both the waste management and the Republic. I think it's Republic garbage, but anyway, because it's a big feedstock. I mean, we won't just be the feedstock. The wastewater plants won't just provide the feedstock, but the trash and all the train crashes and all the things they have to clean up. Feed and make everything.
I wonder if he's planning to integrate that into his agricultural land, as in it could be reprocessed in that way and then added into the genetic soup for which they're going to use to create the new Franken foods.
I'd be curious where his land meets up on that America 2050 map with the wild zones or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, is it all in there? Is he just buying up the wild land?
This is me just being a little bit slow. I was catching up on the link that Anonymous had shared. This is a story about they're saying it's the world's first AI news anchor has gone live in China.
This was back in 2018. So
yeah.
Do you believe it's the first if they announce it?
No.
You know how they announced the first AI influencer? Do you really think that was the first?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I didn't notice the date, so I was just thinking the same thing of like, well, how can they say it's the first when there's already other stuff out there? But 2018, they were planting seeds, I think, definitely. And of course, it's in China. You know, it's not anywhere else. It's in China.
The testing bed for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Like I have showed in that the future of media video where everything is can be, instead of a camera, it can be code. So, and that they can take video of an audio from anybody, just little samples, and recreate you. They're not perfect. They say they're not like video games yet, but that was what they were saying. And that was a couple of years ago, or at least a year ago.
They had that whole Kanye West singing 10 Justin Bieber songs
Huh?
last night where they, used his voice, put it into the AI and had him sing Justin Bieber songs. But the way I've heard this discussed on mainstream radio is they put the positive spin on it, saying that AI will be used to fix our corrupt justice system, because our justice system can't possibly, provide justice when it's in the hands of corrupt humans. But who programs the AI?
Same people that programmed the human.
Man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard of city brains? They have them in China where the whole city's ran by a computer. I do that in quotation marks because, the man behind the curtain, obviously. But they have whole city brains. And that's part of the whole Plandopolis thing, too. Like in their little marketing video, the city in Plandopolis was ran by a major supercomputer. So that's where they want to take us, because they always all these political scandals. Well, the solution to that would be a machine, which is unbiased, quotation marks again there.
Yeah.
There's been certainly within the last year and last few years, there's been an increasing push of narrative, I want to say, but that includes various things, media, propaganda, etc. But they're really sort of pushing that into the front now of the AI is going to take over things. Yeah, and the public, they supposedly, according to the media again, the public are all in favour of it, but I've found in general when I talk to people directly, no, they're not. I think a lot more people are starting to realise, like, oh shit, this could actually replace my job. What am I going to do? You get the usual kind of reaction like that.
Well, that's where the universal basic income is back being pushed. Like, this is the only way. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think for a lot of them, I saw a kind of incident of it not too long ago as well. Google had been recommending just popular videos to me for its usual kind of reasons. You know, the algorithm gets confused by me, so every so often it just throws me some completely random shit. But I watched this video, and it was a couple of what do you call them, influencers, and they just watch silly TikTok videos and they look at memes and stuff like that, and they comment over the top of them. You know, it's just that kind of general entertainment channel. And I was watching it. They were actually looking at some of the things to do with the AI, the Chat GPT, and you could actually see the look of genuine look of realization on their faces. And it was a couple, male and female, and the guy says to the woman, she's like, our job's done. You know, we're going to be finished soon because the AI is going to replace us, no problem whatsoever. And there was a genuine look of realization on his face. And this is something I thought, you know, for a lot of people out there, they've been sold this concept of, of your traditional job gone away, or train for cyber, retrain in internet technologies. You know, they've been pushing people into this environment, persuading them that they can build a living on making content for the internet, being an influencer, whatever it is they do. You know, the reality is that is not even a stepping stone, because it's not going to last much longer. This kind of system is better done by the AI, because the AI will be able to analyze the viewer's desires and wants and will create content to match those desires and wants. Yeah, most influencers, most content creators, when they're trying to play that capitalism kind of commercial gain model of the YouTube and the internet in general, you know, they're looking at it as a business model. One of the key things they're always desperate to find out is, what does my audience want from me? What can I create that they would want to look at or pay me to view? You know, that's the thing. It's always looking for the dollar. The AI isn't going to be doing that. The AI is going to be looking at how do I manipulate or connect with the psychology of the viewer? Yeah, and that's been exampled several times in recent years by different platforms getting fined or prosecuted in some manner for manipulating their viewership without their knowledge. Yeah, and again, we're back to that hoovering up of data. These systems are becoming more and more capable of comprehending how we will react to what it does, simply because we keep interacting with it and feeding it that information.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I know I keep coming back to that point, but this is really, you know, it's a keystone.
when 2020 hit and the everybody stay at home stuff, and Facebook hired all these people and all these other tech companies hired all these people, it's like they were just harvesting from them, I think, because they just fired everybody, but they went back to their pre 2020 numbers now, and it's like they weren't just using all the little normal people out there in the world, but they also were paying people to come in, and who knows what they had them doing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Remember things like Palantir, the Palantir company. You know, they've been going for quite a few years, and their entire system is literally what we've just been describing.
yeah,
The whole system is a data gathering and analysis device. Yeah, and then they sell their analysis reports to their customers. But they're not just about necessarily the general populace. They're about big business and big politics. So you imagine the kind of data that they've been moving around for the past several years. You know, now that they've got what they think is a secure hold on that commercial and business sector, they're now shifting their attention to the general populace. This is why they keep trying to encourage people to be online, because then they can track your data, basically. You know, they can be surveilling you and gathering your data from that. Even if you aren't, you know, not directly interacting with the system, as it were, you're just doing your own thing, surfing the internet or chatting with your mates, etc. That's still data that they can make use of.
You're not the customer, you're the product. every
Yeah.
time you get online, every time you use Facebook, every time you spit in a tube and send your DNA off to these DNA testing companies. You're not the customer. They're selling all of that information off to their third parties and profiting off of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, it's,
And building your digital twin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and now they've well, it's been a few years since they started this because, as you mentioned, that getting your DNA tested or getting your ancestry tested, that has all been the sort of transition point between the digital and the biological. I'm sure most of the audience, if not all the audience, is aware of the kind of statements that people like Schwab have been making. This is not just your future. This is your combination of biological and digital and electronic data. They know that they're trying to create a centralized system that requires an information feed from all directions. For many years, we had that push towards, hey, everybody's getting online. Get online. Tell us all about everything about your life. Register on the latest big platform and give it all your information.
Yeah, tell us your deepest, darkest thoughts in this little journal thing. I remember in middle school they were doing that. If you had a Zanga, if anyone remembers Zanga, tell us your deepest, darkest thoughts and what you did for the day and how you feel and who your mother is and who your sister is and also your extended family.
And what prescriptions are in your medicine cabinet.
Tell us everything.
Oh my word. I love the sampling of everybody with the genetic testing and then the swabs and all the things. It's like, have people not read the book Fahrenheit 451? Like that mechanical hound, it knew your chemistry and it would hunt you down and just like play games and kill you. And that's where I see spots running around. I see those little Boston Dynamics dogs.
Well, then your DNA is so specific to your family that this is worst case scenario. Okay. But if we're talking about World Economic Forum, Bill Gates and everything, not trying to scare people or anything, but the Israelis back in 1990 were trying to target the Arabic DNA.
Oh, sure.
So they could create biological weapons to take them out, which is kind of like side eye, these people live among you and you're trying to take them out. But surely if there are certain characteristics in your DNA or perhaps a family that you don't like, it can be targeted in that way if, it gets into the wrong hands, like Cold Spring Harbor, which is what they've been doing for hundreds of years.
And it's already in the wrong hands.
They already have it in the wrong hands from the beginning.
Yeah. Seriously.
That is kind of like what I was leading towards. Is we've been talking about how they've spent quite a few years now, arguably a couple of decades, gathering electronic data, your digital data. But in more recent times, certainly at least the last 3 years, but it goes back a little bit further than that, they've been pushing to get your biological data as well. Here in the UK, we've got the NHS. It was a little bit of a political stink a while ago when it turned out that the NHS had been selling patients' data en masse. You're talking about millions of people's data being sold onto the commercial market. They claim that they were doing it all in an anonymized fashion. But of course, if something can be made anonymous, that means it wasn't anonymous in the first place. So if the data can be tracked back far enough where it can be connected with other streams of data, the person can be identified. It's not too difficult for them to do. It's the same kind of thing as what happened with Bitcoin when people realized that, oh shit, it's not anonymous. Everything I'm doing is being tracked and traced.
Well, how many years ago was that Enemy of the State movie? Like, I imagine even if I don't take my phone, I imagine that they know where I am when I go somewhere, because like in my hometown, there are cameras every intersection, on the state roads and everything, that the stores with their cameras, and they all talk to each other. They're all hooked up.
They have those
connected.
Flock cameras that read your plates that are even in neighborhoods, just out in the country. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
ridiculous.
that's a standard here now in the UK.
Yeah.
ANPR cameras, they're called. They're pretty much all over the place wherever there's traffic. There's
And
usually
then-
one on every car park now, where there's no car park attendant or assistant. It's all an automated system using those cameras.
And their whole microphone mist technology, where they say they have to put that thing on the wall, the big bar on the wall, but they could use those in stores too. But it incorporates everybody's phones in the room too, to be helping to be able to pick up a whisper. So like you're totally watched. And then I'm gonna put a link here that I just typed in to get the program to bring up what it is. But HP had that Sense, CENS, I think it was CENSE. But anyway, I put the PDF there that they wanted to have a nervous system for the earth. It reminds me of this. I was watching a video on a Mormon transhumanism channel where the one guy was talking about how they are very close to being able to manipulate and change things real time anywhere on the planet that they want to. And that might sound like fantastical, but I don't know. This tiny life stuff, if they can trigger something to turn on, they have switches where they can turn it on and leave it on. And that program there where they wanted to scatter this stuff everywhere, and this isn't the only one, but this is just one. But how would they be able to get all of this data? Because heck, if I'm in the middle of the woods, I don't have a very good signal, unless there's a brand new flipping tower right there. But I just heard I always talk about that This Week in Google show. I like to listen to those people because they're excited about all this, which is hilarious because none of them have cameras in their homes. They all keep removing their smart stuff. It's like, but you're the idiots pushing this stuff for everybody else. You're like the shills for it. And you're like, I don't want a camera in my house, but you better get one because it's going to make everything more convenient. But the one lady on there that suffers from migraines and has surrounded herself with Internet of Things devices. And I'm like, stop getting Botox injected in your head and maybe just shut off your stuff. But she was just so excited talking about the fact that they have been running over wildfire areas and then just forested areas. They're strapping modems on drones to fly over and activate the sensors to pick up the sensor data of whatever, and whether it's the DARPA's potato fields or like whatever it is, if it's their little MEMS chips, whatever, how tiny is it? This was 2010, this PDF, so but they're just flying over. So it's like, no, anywhere. I mean, we don't even know what's been scattered. We don't know, but they want to be able to real time anywhere and everywhere hear, see, change, sample, and I don't know if they're there. I don't know if it works as great as they want it to, but I keep hearing like that one. Oh my gosh, that one, I've talked about him before, that crazy man that used to work for NASA, that Josiah Zahner, that was doing he has The Odin is his company, and he was doing teach you how to edit yourself at home and make your own vaccines and do all the things like with the editing of the tiny life and whatnot. Now he's a lady. Now his name's Joe. I just saw that. And he was editing himself. She was, like it's
he edited away his own penis.
Got boobs.
Took that editing very seriously over there.
Seriously, for real. Oh my goodness. Honestly, I wonder. I'm just talking YouTube, but I wonder, like, there are several, like anonymous Emily, right? Am I right? Emily from Twist. And then there's that other one, that Vivian something or another, some Asian sounding last name. I think that was a man, I think, like, did they say it's a woman's world, and then all these like chrome bums are like, I'm going to be a lady now so I can get ahead. I don't know.
Hopefully, I'm. I've got a bad habit of being optimistic, but I'm hoping that some of the stuff that's been happening recently has now signified that pendulum is swinging back a lot faster. It's already past its apex point, because now we're seeing I can't remember which particular body it is. One of the sports bodies making an official statement now saying that trans athletes are not going to be allowed to participate in women's sports because of it being unfair, to the women involved.
I
There's
feel
been
so
more.
bad for those people. I see those videos of them crying because they got misgendered and everything, and it's just like, you poor broken person. Oh my
Wow,
gosh.
your life is so hard.
I know.
Yeah,
I
Someone
know.
calling you a he or she
Oh,
accidentally just
oh
sets
my
you off the
gosh.
worst thing to ever happen to you.
Oh,
Yeah, broken by the system, because
yeah.
all that shit has been given to them by the system.
And
It,
if they built it up to be their whole world, you don't
yeah,
have anything else to do.
it's their entire identity, and it's such a
Yeah.
fragile one because, I mean, the way it's propagated now, it's like your sexuality, who you are attracted to, and your political ideology is what defines you.
Yeah.
And so that's their entire world. And it's so fragile to them that somebody calling them the wrong pronoun can just ruin their day.
They're
Those
marshmallow
people.
people.
Yeah,
as
and they'll
Jeff
jump
C
right
would say.
in. They'll jump right into the virtual world where nobody's going to do that to them. And their day is going to be nice, and they can be exactly who they want to be.
Do you
That-
think we
that-
used to be tougher as a people, just in general, as a people? We used to be tougher, more robust, less sensitive.
Just
Yeah,
if you just
Yeah.
look at pictures of people in the past, like people our age and stuff are younger, they look older. They're all more rugged and older looking. And as time has passed, older people look younger now. They look more like kids. It's weird.
it
the blue
is.
hair.
Softer.
It is a way of. I feel it is epigenetically connected to that lack of psychological development and spiritual development. Their body hasn't aged in the same way as what we would see as being a natural progression of aging. Like you said, you see that weathering in the face.
The
Somebody
heart-
who's lived an illusionary life and has followed a lot of the ideologies given to them by the system is basically infantilized in their psychological state. They've suffered from that problem of not truly maturing psychologically.
Well,
And
and
I
really,
think,
if we want to see what people look like, you got to catch them right when they get out of the shower, because this
Oh, yeah.
makeup that's out there is amazing. And then this, like for what I've seen it transform people into, and then the filters, right? The beauty filters and everything. It's like you've got no idea.
you know what
crazy.
enabling means in a psychological sense. Yeah, a lot of what they've been doing with that stuff is enabling people's dysphoria. Most of the time it's dysphoria, but there's other conditions as well. But my point is, they give them the seed of the condition early in their life through media. Some of it is through direct propaganda, but a lot of it now is so ingrained into the cultural output from the system, not from genuine people. I'm talking about the corporate culture that is being forced upon us. Yeah, they're given this seed, and part of that seed is that you can be anything you want. We've now got systems that enable you to be anything you want. You can be any shape and size you want once you step into that virtual realm. But that was when it was still virtual. I'm referencing a time about 10 years ago when they started promoting this idea of the simulation theory and that everything is going to be possible in the virtual world. It just reminded me so much of Lawnmower Man, if you watch that film. But now they're switching to the emanation into the physical of the same psychological dysphoria that they made dominant in the digital space. Yeah. Once we had the internet, arguably it's already the internet 2.0 because it's been changed so much, which included the major platforms, the social media platforms, and it started to give the majority of people the opportunity, because the technology dropped in price, to explore the virtual world as well. So people started playing around more in virtual games and virtual worlds, and the ridiculousness of the metasphere and all that lot. But my point is that was enticing people into a psychological dysphoria where they could pretend to be whatever they want in their virtual avatar, Like at the moment, I've got an avatar of Bob doing the silly painting of chemtrails. Yeah, that's a virtualized digital persona. Once a lot of people got used to that being themselves, similar to some of what we were talking about earlier, you know, influencers, content creators, people who seem to fall into this psychological trap of believing that their digital self is more real than their real world self. Now they're trying to transition that into the physical emanation. So they're persuading people that they can chop and change their own body to be whatever they want. Do you see what I mean about how we've gone through a phase of training by them using the digital space to get people into that psychological mental trap of believing that they can alter reality in some fashion to make themselves feel better about themselves? You know, but the very guilt and frustration that they feel about themselves was given to them by the fucking system. Yeah. Nobody, I feel nobody really cares who it is that, you know, if you're attracted to the same sex or not. Most people don't care. But when you start trying to force that as a normalcy onto the entire population, that's when it becomes unhealthy and problematic and destructive, which is what we've seen for the past several years. You can pretend to be whatever you want, mate. You know, you can wear a dress and makeup and call yourself Shirley or whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. But it's not a reality if you then insist that you are actually a woman. I'm referring to a man, you know. That is not a reality. You cannot do that. But this system's steady progress by training people in the virtual space that, oh, yeah, you can pretend to be whatever you want. Now they're trying to convince them that they can do that literally physically.
Well, it's monetizable when it's physically. I mean, when you enter the virtual to the real world, all of that mental illness and illusion is monetizable. And so they profit on this grand illusion that they themselves planted in your mind when you were, you know, socializing and looking into the internet mirror of this whole world you created and perception of yourself that is dysphoric, but now a reality in your mind's eye. And then you go into the real world and force that illusion on others because you've only been in the echo chamber of your room, your computer. Everyone agrees with you and on whatever side of the internet you've been on, in the AI that they've engineered. Who even knows if half the people are real in this little bubble that you've created? And so you get this whole echo and of yourself that is not translated to the real world, and then you're offended when people aren't like, heck yeah, you are actually a kitty cat. you are actually a man.
You used exactly the right word, mirror. You know, that's a really good observation of the fact that they present us this system as if it's a mirror of yourself. It's like, especially when they're trying to promote content to you, you know, they want you to feel like it's just like you. These people are just like you. Look, they like the same things you do. They dress like you do, blah, 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 blah. Whereas what you're being presented with is a circus mirror, you know, a twisted mirror. The image that they reflect back at you has been manipulated to provide them the opportunity to feed their narrative into your mind.
And then you'll want to pay someone to give you boobs in the real world.
I saw the filler, the boobs, the Botox, everything.
Oh yeah. I saw a video. It was like the top 10 filter fails in China. And these poor people that the filter kept shutting off, and they're like covering themselves, hiding, crying because they're not thin anymore, or they're not so perky. And it's like, they'll probably be like, heck with that. I'm getting this done to my real face so that I really look like that.
Then the filter serves another purpose too. It's feeding the AI. It's tracking your face. It's looking at your room. It's looking at the people behind you. It's making these notes. It's so insidious.
Shut it down. I don't know how.
It's been getting a lot better recently, I've noticed as well, at recognizing visual imagery. So I'm just thinking in the sense of for a little while, a lot of people, especially on YouTube, because the terms and conditions became so restrictive, they started doing things in a visual sense instead. So they'll show little signs, they'd write on a bit of paper and hold it up in front of the camera, rather than saying that the keywords that we'd all learned were tripping up the algorithm. But now the algorithm seems to be getting more and more capable of recognizing even those visual cues. So, if I put a certain word on a piece of paper and hold it up in front of the camera, it will still potentially trigger the algorithm now.
Oh yeah, because you can draw things out and feed it to these AI programs, and it'll like make a website. I've seen that where like, oh, they drew on a napkin what they wanted their website to look like, and then just took a picture of it and fed it in, and they created a website like that. So yeah, it picks up everything.
Yeah, well, I think from both directions, both the digital and the biological now, in the kind of manner like I've just been trying to describe roughly, they've got people to that stage where a lot of people have been convinced that they can literally transform themselves in that kind of transhumanism fashion. Again, I mentioned right near the start, and I've been waffling for a while, but most of what they've been showing to the public, or what they've been encouraging the public to believe about transhumanism and the future of technology in reference to ourselves, is electronics, silicon, mechanics, bits of wire and robotics, things like that. Whereas the reality is it's going to be about genetic alteration. So they started to get people used to and normalized to the idea that they can alter their physical body in some form. Why do they feel a need to do that? What is it about themselves that they can't cope with, they can't live with? I've not got a problem with people who've been like born with a deformity, or they've been disfigured in an accident or something like that. The usual kind of argument that's been around for years. If you get in that kind of reconstructive surgery, fair enough. But if all you're doing is cosmetic surgery,
because you want to look like Barbie.
Yeah, like you're getting boobies and whatever, and then you want to convince yourself that you've transformed from one sex to another. Why is it that it doesn't go off in your head that is just wrong? That doesn't add up. That's not factual. It's not reality. I must be suffering from some kind of problem. Maybe I need help from people.
Well, they eat the food, they drink the drinks. These people are drugged. People are being made this way chemically too.
Do you think that the controllers see it in their push to transform us and get our consent and get us to ask to have these things done, and want to step into this digital reality of our digital selves? Do you think it's because there's some kind of spiritual? I always think about this question. Is there a spiritual aspect to it where they think they can improve on God's creation, or improve, like make a mockery of it, flip it on its head, improve it in their own perception?
I think, yes, definitely. But I can be pedantic about language, but I'd just be pedantic about using the word improve, because
I think it's more about imprisoning.
Yeah, and also I think for a lot of them, the usual them, they, whatever, it comes down more to fear. It's not so much they want to improve themselves, but they want to get rid of or block what they consider to be faults. So the simple, perfect example is immortality. They desperately want to be able to remain in their current physical body because they have that materialistic obsession where they think the only thing that is real is physical existence.
Well, I think too, like I left some comments on my latest video there that we know a lot of the power families and everything, inbreeding's a thing, and they have been doing this for a long time. And I'm telling you, that book I talk about in there, I won't say it out loud. I guess I don't know what that triggered. I don't know, but it's in the comments. It's in the comments. But that they're saying in there, I felt so bad for these people that I know, like, you don't choose who you are when you're born. And I know what you do is what determines what kind of person you are, obviously. But like, if they're like some of the stuff that it comes from being so inbred with these people, that some of the stuff that's being shown, it like melts their babies' brains and things. Like, there's so many things. It's like, if it was your family, you know, and you were born into the money and the control, what would you do? What would you do if you had an extinction situation? And I'm definitely not defending what they're doing. I wonder, like, because everything that people say and do that's anti this whole march to the madness that we're doing is like, you're hateful, you're such an awful person. Like my dad, he's like, I can't believe you hate so much. But it's like, if I'm like, I don't like what's happening, and I think it's sick. But what if we could come at it, and I know it's a lot to ask, what if we can come at it from like an empathy way, you know, and like feel and understand these people are broken. And that's why I see they're doing all of this like wide scale gene therapy tests and everything to perfect their stuff, because they've got a lot to fix. So I don't know that they're on the brink of being like these supermen, maybe wearing super suits. Maybe that would make them more supermen, but that they're a very broken people. And don't just take when you look at the comments, people, don't just take the name of the book and everything and go, oh, I know what that's about. You really don't. It's such a book. I really read it. It's such a book. It's free online. There's a few print copies out there, I know, but
it's good in a historical sense as well, because it helps explain a lot of the historical narratives that we've read about or been taught about.
Oh yeah. I mean, the author wants to completely shatter what you think of when you think of the word eugenics, you know, and he's dead. I know it says in there to write to him if you have any questions or thoughts. Don't. He's dead, so he won't write back.
Write to the chat GPT.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh my word. But I mean, he is of this bloodline too. The guy that wrote the book, and just it's interesting. I mean, the first 100 pages is his take, which includes what are these people, which is not just the lump that they say like that they are, you know, it's anyone who says they want to be. But then it's all a microchronology and a macrochronology and indexes and like it's so sourced, and it's such a well-respected author in his field. Go read the book. I'm looking at my copy right now. It's got probably 30 flags in it, a ton of dog-eared pages. There's like tissues hanging out of it and all kinds of stuff. There's so many things in there, and it's free. Go look at it when you can.
Is that your genetic sample for the book to read?
Yeah, right?
They're
there. Clean ones. I don't like dirty tissues. And I wrote in it too. Tissues. Yeah, right. No, they'd be wider. It'd be all bunched up. No, but it's I think it's really important. And I don't think they're super people yet. I think they're broken people.
This is part of the reason why I ask. I feel you have to be careful using the word improve, simply because I think they've been playing that trick on the public to persuade the public to be okay or normalized to the fact that they're doing this kind of research and development, because they keep promising that this stuff is going to make you super and improved. You know, you will be better than human, you will be superhuman, etc., etc. But the reality is nowhere near that. You know, they're certainly not capable of doing what they pretend to promise or subtly promise, including the way it's been inserted into so much cultural media. You know, I like to talk about the movies and the entertainment and that kind of media. That subtle promise is embedded in pretty much all media now. All the corporate media is saturated with it. Technology will make you better. Technology will make everything perfect. Technology makes a perfect future, etc., etc. I mean, I know that's a bit of an old trope. You know, it comes all the way back from like 50 plus years ago, even back to the turn of the century when they were doing the same thing about, the future's going to fix everything. You know? Whereas I think what they're doing is using that in the same kind of methodology as like many of us have observed. You know, they promise that it's going to be used for medical reasons first. So imagine all the disabled people that could be helped with this new technology once we develop it. You know, that kind of
The brain chips making you the blind see and the deaf hear. Yeah, great.
Oh yeah.
Get the brain chip.
Whereas really what they're after is, like you were saying, they're looking to try and fix their own genetic problems. That's why I say I feel it's more about they're trying to prevent things from happening, not that they're actually trying to give us a genuine improvement. In another way of just a simple metaphor to try and present why I think this is an epistemological problem, in the sense of how the general public receives information and absorbs it as knowledge, and they then think that represents the world as they understand it. But did people think the same kind of thing when the first person invented a bow and used an arrow to kill someone or kill an animal? Did you think they all stood there going, wow, he's a superman, he's superhuman, look at this technology he's developed? I don't think they did. I think people rejoiced at the use of technology to help themselves survive, but it wasn't, if you see what I mean, it wasn't exactly presented to the public. If you read about it in history books, it's not presented in that kind of fashion. Whereas now they purposefully write their media, they create their media with this psychological bait of, if you like what we're doing, think, the future is going to be fantastic if you just do what we suggest. And WEF, the World Economic Forum, is literally the epitome of that kind of psychology. We promise you everything's going to be fantastic, but when you actually start digging into the information, you discover, no, hang on a minute, this is an outdoor prison. This is an open air prison. This is not the fantastic future you keep telling me about. I think my point of view on this is somewhat jaded because I come from that Jetson generation. When we were kids, we were promised that we'd all be having flying cars and jetpacks when we were adults. I'm still waiting for mine. I know they've sort of introduced them, but not in the way it was in the Jetsons.
You'll get your flying taxis. That's about it. But you're not going to be driving shit. But the what they're doing now, they're just treating us like lab rats. We're all just lab rats to them. And what is coming down the road when all this shit hits the fan, we're going to be begging for all this stuff that they've been working on, because it will seem so much better than the horrible misery we'll be in. Right? So,
well, again,
destruction of our water supply, our food supply. We're going to lose energy, the war. There's so many things that are just going to make the next 7 years fucking hell. So.
That again will be the bait. Like you said, a mouse in a lab, in a maze in the lab, and they keep placing the cheese just too far away for us to reach. But they keep promising us that if we jump out through the hoops, we're going to get to the cheese, but we never do, obviously.
We're going to be reaching for the Soylent shakes and our bug bars.
Well, I'm still tempted to start up a business called Soylent White.
Is it made with white people? Is like
don't ask.
Human milkshakes?
No, don't. I won't go into full explanation. I'm sure people will get the idea.
All right.
Yeah, it's an untapped source of protein.
Oh god,
ice cream.
Yeah,
ice cream.
Oh.
I'm sure they'd twist it into making stuff like that as well now that there is that kind of completely fake grown in a lab ice cream.
Oh yeah.
Well, with everyone being sterilized, what else are you going to do with it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know I'm saying it as a joke, but the joke carries the truth. At some point, it will be suggested.
Oh, sure, because it'll be more credits that you can earn. How much can you feed in to help with the output? Like, yeah.
And I know you guys are aware of the fact that they've been attempting to suggest things like cannibalism and
constantly.
It's speciesist,
like
and you're not.
Yeah. I get hit with it all the time. Cannibalism. I'm not eating anybody, so stop it.
I even see that the algorithm on YouTube and stuff with all these comedians who are joking about cannibalism, like Theo Vaughn. I've had a lot of him on my YouTube Shorts algorithm, and he's like, I would eat a Vietnamese before I'd eat a blah blah blah, and that is just so promoted on all
Wow.
the social media, just because it's joking. Of course, it normalizes it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
funny too, but it normalizes
Plus, all
it.
the zombie stuff is cannibalism. That's what it is. It's like that's what
Yeah.
the zombie concept is, just cannibalism.
Ugh.
Yeah. Eat them before they eat you.
Yep.
And it
Human
appeared to-
compost. That's
Yeah.
kind of a thing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Turn
Ex-
humans into compost.
Yeah.
that's being offered by a lot more funeral companies as well now. That you can be reprocessed. You can, especially the liquefaction version. I think it was. I think there's a company started up in the UK now offering it as a service. Yeah.
I have that set up I have alkaline hydrolysis set up for a Google alert, and every single day there's a new article or 2 or 3 or 4 showing that legalized here. This town's talking about turning you into liquid waste. Like all these, it's everywhere constantly. Yeah.
It's so
I
much
think-
better for the environment than burning
Oh.
people.
Yeah. Oh gosh. So where I used to live, after I was gone, when I looked around at all the crematories, I was like, oh, and they put they put the formaldehyde in people. They embalm them, do all the stuff, but then they also put all their liquids down the drain, and it goes to your wastewater plant. Everything. It's just so creepy. Dig a hole and put me in, please, and then plant a tree. I'm happy.
Well, there's the whole green burial thing too, where you just get put in a shroud and you tossed in a hole.
Mhm.
That is
There's
a-
the
that is a
sky
popular
burial.
thing.
Sky
Sky
burial. What?
where the birds eat you, where the vultures eat
Oh,
you. Yeah.
nice.
Wait, do they float you, or they
No,
the
they just-
helicopter swinging around.
throw
they
you in the
just-
desert?
Leave you out in the field, and the turkey, vultures, and buzzards just go after you. It's like a ceremonial thing.
I picture like arm bones and stuff ending up in people's yards and
They have
whatever.
a body
like,
farm in Vancouver that you can volunteer to.
to decompose at different rates and stuff.
Yep, they
Yeah,
just, like-
that would, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything but eat the rich. Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah. Motorhead did it years ago. Eat the rich. You're gonna do it. Start with them.
I don't think they taste very good.
No.
Ugh.
No.
But it's all what the microbes want to eat, though. You'll like what comes out of them.
Mm.
You'll eat the rich.
They're probably eating organic, non-gene edited foods, though. They're going to Erewhon. Gwyneth Paltrow's drinking. Did you see the whole clip of what Gwyneth Paltrow eats in a day? It went viral the other day. She's like,
No.
I eat a delicious soup around lunch after I intermittent fast for 18 hours, and then I drink a bone broth. And then it's just silent after that. Just nothing else.
Sounds filling.
So they probably wouldn't be very filling, is what I'm saying.
Oh.
Well, I got to take the opportunity because that's just me. I'll repeat something I said. I don't know how many years ago, several years ago, when Jonesy first started promoting his bone broth silliness. Bone broth is basically just what used to be called stock, and it is just a normal part of cooking. And it depends on the recipe, of course, but most soups start with stock, especially if they're some kind of soup that includes a meat element or meat flavor. You use bones to boil down to create the stock that you then use as the basis for your soup or your stew, something similar. So the very concept that bone broth is some kind of new invention to boost your health, etc. It's like, surely this is part of your everyday diet anyway in the first place. It's just somebody's decided to try and commercialize the idea of that name, that label, bone broth, and claim that it's something new and different and whatever. No.
But if it tastes like Ovaltine, I'm gonna think that's really not anything real. There's no, that was just made things. It's not from some good animal.
In a similar fashion, just to give, I suppose, just to give another example of why I find that idea just so ridiculous. If I started selling cabbage water and saying that how beneficial it was for your health, a lot of people in the UK would straight away just think I was crazy. Because what are you on about? Like, we've done that traditionally for generations. Yeah, I grew up with that. My grandparents and my parents, when they were cooking the dinner, they'd come in and ask you, do you want a cup of cabbage water? Yeah, because that water has been infused with a lot of the nutrients that have been, obviously, while you're boiling them, some of them are leaching out of the leaves of the cabbage. It's something that is just part of a traditional diet and style of cooking.
Yeah, it's also very alkaline, so it would be good for you.
Yeah. So this idea that bone broth is somehow some kind of superfood or something, it is, but it's nothing new or unusual. It's been part of our traditional diet for millennia.
And it's only as good as the animals that go into it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
exactly.
true.
That's, I mean, where are all these bones coming from?
Where's she getting her? What kind of bones is she got in her broth? That's what I'd be wondering.
You can sell your cabbage water alongside your Soylent White.
Yeah. That's a balanced diet for you.
Good.
Terrible. Oh man.
Oh dear, I got to try not to laugh too hard because otherwise I'll end up just having a coughing fit again.
Oh, since we're on the topic of food, I did scribble down a solution-y sort of thing when I was thinking about the show last night. That we're going into spring, or we are in spring here, and obviously, I mean, where are they going to get the seeds, and what are they going to use to fertilize and everything? I really want to make a flyer that I can hand to these Amish people that aren't online to go and look, like something that is powerful and shows the scary stuff that we've been showing that they're doing to the agriculture system. But if the farmers or people that have plant more food, people are going to be hungry. Plant more food. And then if you don't have that place to grow stuff, like go meet a farmer and say, hey, do you want some labor? Do you want some help? I'll come out like once a week and help you weed the gardens, to help you do all the stuff. Like, now's the time to get more food growing. Like it is seriously, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
we're at the point where they're things are gonna run out.
Yeah.
Completely.
And not everybody's gonna care. I'm sure there's these young people they seem all in for all this insanity, but there's enough people that are like, I don't want that. I don't want that. And it's gotta get growing. Not everybody's got a garden though. Not everybody can have the space and stuff, but farmers gotta step up. But then we gotta talk to them because they are expanding how many farms and how many millions of acres they have their synthetic life, their biotech life. It's on the seeds. It's in the seeds. I mean, if we need a flyer, we need something that can tell people, because they're buying the stuff now. They're putting it in the ground now. And then how do you get that out?
A lot more people as well. I've noticed here in the UK, I'm referencing the UK because that's where I'm living. But I've seen a lot more people making use of those new services. Again, I'm mentioning services like it showed in that document. Everything is a service. Commercial services that will send you a meal in a box through the post.
Your food rations.
Just there's this many people in your house, so you need this many carrots.
And you will not waste a thing. That's how they sell it. No waste. Except they send it in a huge cardboard box with all kinds of crap in it. All kinds of plastic stuff that you won't use.
Those countertop composter things, I see them like scraping a whole pepper into it. Like they just sliced up and they're scraped for your food waste. Yeah. It's like, that was the food part.
Yeah, and the food... the food waste that every household would normally generate would normally be used either for fertilizer or to feed other animals such as chickens or even pigs if you've got enough space to have pigs, etc.
I got chickens, I got mealworms, superworms. I mean, there's no reason to have much waste.
Prior to the rise of the industrialized food production and the supermarket trend, prior to that, that's how most people lived. And there was very little actual food waste, not in the way they describe it now, because most of the food would have been organic. It would not have included packaging and all that kind of shit. You would have been throwing away bits of actual food leftovers and that would have been perfectly easily recyclable by the planet. So the whole thing was self-sustaining. Whereas now they tricked the majority of us into this mechanized lifestyle where you buy your food from a shop somewhere. You part of that cycle, that 3-day cycle, which is it's pretty much complete control over the food chain for the majority of people, certainly in the developed urbanized countries. And that, like you say, I know you were referencing the Amish, but I think it's true for everyone, not just the Amish. I mean, I kept referring over the past couple of years, I kept referring to what were called victory gardens, just from my knowledge of what was the Second World War here in the UK and the stuff I learned about the Second World War. And at the time then, they had a whole campaign of encouraging the population to start their own little garden, to ease the pressure on the food supply, because even then Britain was heavily reliant on imported food. And we need to do literally exactly the same thing now. I know people like having their ornamental gardens, their lawns where they can have a barbecue and just sit in a chair and relax with their friends while they have a beer or something. But with the situation as it is, it would greatly benefit you and help your own future if you just dedicate a little bit of that space you've got, a little bit of your garden, to grow some stuff for yourself.
It's not going to be a choice anymore. You're going to have to do it if you want to survive.
Talk to your neighbors and
suffer.
Put a group plot together, knock down your fences and put it.
This is about survival. It's not a game anymore.
You need to learn it now. You need to learn how now, because there's a huge learning curve. I mean, it is easy, but there are things you need to learn, like your soil composition, what grows next to other things, what does well in your area, things like that.
How to save seeds, because you might not be able to buy them.
Yeah.
That's right.
The main seed stock might be just monopolized by the industries, so they're all genetically proprietary.
Oh yeah.
Well, we used to have a very efficient farming system over here in the Netherlands, but that's going to be gone in a couple of years. So, I doubt that we are even able to compensate for that, because of their efficiency and their,
people are going to go hungry. People are
yields.
going to die, I think, for sure. Not everybody's going to make it. Definitely.
Just like Madonna said.
Is that what Madonna
Not everyone's
said?
going to make it.
Man.
Unless you can survive of broth and,
Well, if you get that Soylent White, you should be fine, right? Circular food chain. You just make your own meals.
No.
Oh, no.
Terrible.
I know it probably sounds quite doomish, but I'll just reiterate what I've been saying for years. You've got to look at reality for what it is. If you just close your eyes and shut yourself off like the Three Monkeys, just because it's something that makes you feel uncomfortable or a bit scared, a bit frightened, a bit concerned, you've got to delve and find that courage, to be able to act in the presence of fear. I'm paraphrasing that classic Bruce Lee quote. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the ability to act in the presence of fear. Fear is not something, I feel, and I know there's many people argue different to this, and it's a bit of a trope. The opposite argument to this is more dominant. A lot of people say no fear, that kind of thing. I disagree. I think you need people to realize that there are things to be concerned about. Being concerned about something doesn't mean you end up in a state of terror hiding under your bed. It means you see something that is a potential threat to you or your family, you and yours. And if you don't address that potential threat, then it could do you serious damage. It will do you serious damage at some point. This system is never going to leave us alone.
It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it's not
weirder and weirder, right?
Yeah, power never gives up, never relinquishes power, on its own. You have to force it to do so. I'm not suggesting going in direct force. I'm suggesting tangential force that creates a different way of existence. Again, I know this is a cliche, but You can't succumb to that fear if you see something that makes you feel a little bit, oh, that's like fear porn. I don't want to be afraid. I want to just look at kittens and boobies. No, even though boobies release serotonin, which is great. That's why I enjoy looking at them. But you've got to be able to face that fear and go, hang on a minute, is that a genuine threat? If I don't look directly at it and see it for what it is, how can I analyze and decide if it is a genuine threat that I need to do something about? So it annoys me, it frustrates me when people have that attitude of, oh, no, just ignore it, just look away, don't think about it, you'll make it happen. No, it happens because you ignored it. It happens just like the system loves to do. They try to persuade you, oh, no, I'm perfectly normal and fine and lovely. I'm caring about you, while they're picking your pocket with the other hand or stabbing you in the back with the other hand.
Or just covering their eyes and not paying attention and just la, 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 la. It's their fault.
Yeah.
Everything's going to just happen.
If you can do that, if you can stand your ground and look at this thing for what it is, then hopefully, I feel, I'm optimistic, I'm fairly confident that for the majority of people, they'll see that, oh, hang on a minute. So if they're going to do that, I could do this. Or if they're going to go that direction, I can go the other direction. If you look at this thing for what it is, the reality of it is a very, very small group of people who have an amazing ability to psychologically influence or trick others into doing what they want. So if you can see them as the tiny dot on the horizon for what they are, then you can see also the rest of the horizon. There's lots of space that we can steer around their bullshit.
Well, they are going to present a solution.
Yeah, definitely are. Yeah.
Which is not a solution.
No.
The how hungry will they let everyone get first before they bring it in and save them? Will they make you get hungry?
Here's your digital currency.
Yeah.
To get your potatoes.
You can see in the, I'm going to be careful what words I use because of fucking YouTube, but you can see how over the last 3 years, they have attempted to steer the entire population by that use of fear of, oh, you're going to be in a bad way, you're going to end up in hospital or something if you don't do what we're telling you to. And I know for a lot of us, we were already seeing through that bullshit. But I think it's true now after 3 years, even the majority of the public they're starting to realize that literally just was a threat. It was terrorism. They used fear and the threat of disaster or some kind of negative effect for you to try and trick you into going a certain direction and putting your energy in a certain direction. Lo and behold, it turns out that it was all just a trick. There was no genuine threat. So in the same manner, they're doing the same thing in terms of the food supply, in terms of the surveillance state lockdown effect. They're constantly trying to make us feel that there is an inevitable success for them. That is classic psychological warfare. There is no inevitable success if the majority of the public decide to go a different direction. If the majority of the public stopped feeding the digital realm every bit of data about themselves, then all those AI systems would have less data to feed off to make themselves better, to improve their own ability. They would become more and more retarded.
I think that would help. In the past. I think that would help. But I know I just beat on about it all the time that it just, the whole thing. I mean, because if they tell us how guided by the tiny life inside of us that we are, and they're using these computer systems and they're using these AI systems, these algorithms and everything to create these new little internal guides for us. Even if we stop feeding the machine, but we're still taking our probiotics or drinking our tea now with probiotics or all this stuff and whatever other sneaky ways, if anything's coming out of a box that was went through Cargill or anything like that, the ingredients, your super wonderful farm stand, pumpkin roll. Well, where did they get the seasonings? You know, where do they, and what company? Like, it's so dang everywhere. It's like, and it's so involved, and everybody's taking this stuff in, and we can all, I can't unsee those papers talking about how they can flip the switch and make it stay on. Like, what happens when they flip the switches? And I think it's a concentration. I want to say it's a concentration thing, because I know I've eaten this stuff too, and I'm sure I can't avoid it everywhere. But like, how much of it's in you, maybe that matters. I don't know. But their stuff that they're putting in us, it's competitive. It takes out your bacteria, and it travels through your body, and they found it in other tissues. Like, it's not just staying in your digestive system. It's flipping scary. It's really, really, and I know I'm like, and it just has to stop. Everything of it has to stop. And like I said, people are going to die. I know that the electrical systems and the water systems, everything is hooked to the internet stuff now. But it could go back, and maybe we could figure things out. I don't know. I don't know what's worse. I don't know what's worse, you know, because this prison system that we're going to build for ourselves, like when they have your cells, and when they turn you into the meat machine, like, and you're like this immortal cell line, like, are you trapped there? Is a part of you in that? Like, I don't know, maybe that's weird, but like, that would be hell. That would be horrible. I don't even know, but it's all very scary, and it all is enabled by the machine. And it's, I'd love talking to you all, but I wish it would all go away.
It will eventually.
I don't know. I mean, they'll change it. They're going to relaunch it, but it's not going to be. It'll still be their thing.
That's connected to what I was just thinking as well. Two things you mentioned that I think are very, very relevant to recent times and the culture that goes along with it. What's a big part of how they've manipulated us is that, being rhetorical, you know, the element of the fear of death. That is what the majority of all fears resolve down to. And that is the foundational fear that they play upon in their manipulations that they do on people. But the fear of death has increased over the past, I don't know, maybe a couple of decades, maybe more, where they've actively made people feel more materialistic. You know, they've promoted this ideology of materialism so strongly now for a few decades that most people are more and more detached from their sense of their spiritual self, or their soul, if you want to call it soul. Yeah. I often refer to it as energy as well, because I think that's a lot of what is actually going on there. That non-local EM field is where consciousness resides. You know, your body, your physical body, is the antenna that receives your consciousness in that sense. But they've made people, the majority of people, so deathly afraid of a natural cycle, i.e. we're born, we live, we die. That's just a natural cycle. Yeah, that's part of the laws of nature that this reality operates on. And if you can't cope with the reality that you will at some point die, that, you know, there's so many psychological implications and effects that come from that rooted fear, that deep-rooted fear. Even though, yeah, I'm not saying I want to die, or it doesn't matter if I die or anything like that. No, I'm not saying that. But I have an acceptance. I have come to terms with it in my own self, in my own psyche, that, yeah, eventually I'm going to die.
But your digital twin will live on.
Yeah. That, again, this is why they're pushing this idea of getting people to externalize their sense of self into the digital realm, so that they feel that they are their digital persona, which is an illusionary persona. Persona literally means mask in the Greek. Yeah. So they're getting people to put themselves into a materialistic system where their sense of self isn't even a material thing. Yeah, it's completely phantom. It's ephemeral. It does not literally physically exist. It's just digits in a computer system. But they have convinced themselves that their social media persona is who they feel they really are, not their real physical self. But to get back to what I was going to say, the fear of death and the lack of courage. The lack of courage comes along with that externalization effect. If you externalize all of your responsibility and self-authority, self-authorship to an external source, then you end up being infantilized to the point of you are reliant on that external source in the same way as an infant baby is reliant on its parents. Do you see what I mean? So a lot of people out there feel like there's nothing they can do. It's just little old me. I'm the ultimate victim. I can't deal with all this shit. Somebody else out there has to do it for me. And that now has grown to the point of pretty much every aspect of your life. So you can't decide for yourself what food is good for you. You have to let some external source tell you, and that hierarchy of authoritarian credentialed system tells you certain things which are in the long run not beneficial to you. Yeah,
the experts, always the experts who weigh in on what you should do, what you should eat. Don't eat eggs this week, don't eat butter that week. And it's the learned helplessness that you're talking about. It's like the bystander effect. You're just a passenger in your life. You're not the driver. And I think that's what a lot of people are being conditioned. That's how they're conditioned to feel and how they're conditioned to operate in their life, when really we can be so much more. We can be our own controllers in our lives. Absolutely. And it's much more exciting that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't suggest that you just go to any particular one. Obviously, if you're a parent, you'd have to do a bit of research about a place. But this is why I'm in favor of things like boot camp. Not necessarily a military institution, but just giving young people the opportunity where they have, they can show their own ability to be self-responsible. They can learn skills, they can learn attitudes which will help them as they grow into an adult. But that sense of being put into a situation where if you don't get off your ass and do something about it, there's nobody here to come and save you. Right? This is something where it's getting much more into the psychology of what they've done to most of the massive population. But so many people have been grown into a convenience lifestyle. They've lost all their real world life skills. Most of them wouldn't know how to survive more than a day if they were dropped in a wilderness somewhere where there was everything they would need, but they don't know how to get it or use it. So doing things like a kind of boot camp environment, or joining the Scouts, the Cub Scouts, the whatever particular type of thing it is in your culture, but that kind of institution where they get the opportunity to learn basic life skills.
If I was young, I would like to go be an intern on some of these farms, like that Joel Salatin, his Polyface Farms. They take people on, can come and work for so long. There's another guy that I know I've told you, Anonymous, about this. And I think I told you, Grace, these books and card games and stuff that are for plant identification. This guy, Tom Elpel, he has a green university, where you can come there and you help them build like this whole system from scratch. But it's for people to go there and stay and learn how to do the stuff from people that have already done it, like hands-on. That's awesome. I think. I don't know. Even if they're not
I feel
all the things.
I feel it's vitally important to people's psychological development. It is I know you used this word a few times tonight, but I do feel it's a keystone of how the system takes false ownership of people psychologically. It happens at an early age. You're talking like 5+, between 5 and puberty for most children. I think that's what it was for me. That was the age when I was running around in the countryside whenever I got the opportunity. I was in the Scouts and stuff like that. And it's that chance to be able to realize that, oh, right, okay, if I just learn the right skills and practice a little bit and remember my knowledge, when it comes to what to look at in the wilderness and how to make use of it, I don't need the rest of society. The whole construct of what we refer to as modern society becomes just a convenience. Life is more comfortable and easy in a societal structure because people help each other. Yeah, we can achieve more when we work as a team than as an individual, especially in terms of survival. It makes survival a hell of a lot easier. But it's also true that you don't need anyone else, as long as, of course, you're not physically disabled in some manner. But you can help yourself, and you can deal with adversity and hardship. That
Well, I
being
think
removed from children's early psychological development means their mind forms in such a way as they have a propensity to externalize to some other source, like an expert.
children don't have that in our current public school system. They don't have that in their social structures unless their parents introduce that to them. And that's why I think it's a general lack of sense of self, confidence, courage,
Yep.
and things like that, that these young people cling to these false identities that the system gives them because they haven't faced that adversity. They haven't been able to, like what you were saying, dropped in the middle of the country or in the middle of the forest or whatever. I mean, maybe not an example that extreme, but they haven't proven to themselves that, what's inside of them, what they have is good enough. They don't have to be given something by the system. They don't have to lean on that, the purple hair, the being a man or woman, whatever they choose. They don't have to have that. They're good enough as is.
Yeah, I think a bit like as an archetype, it's almost like the system gives them the illusion, or offers them the illusion, that if they live as the thing they're showing them, the archetype they're showing them, they can be superhuman. I think that could be part of why a lot of the cultural media has gone that direction. People are obsessed with being better than human. And usually, more often than not, when it comes down to it, it's simply because they want to escape what they feel is their current terrible life. Their failings, their inadequacies, their problems, etc., etc. All of that shit is being dripped on their head constantly by the system. You're not good enough. You're not capable unless you're this type of persona or this type of archetype. And then they offer you a big wide, a rainbow spectrum selection of what you can be, because just like a con man, they know that if they roll the dice so many times, they're going to get a success eventually. So if they offer you so many different choices, eventually you'll feel like, oh yeah, that one's just like me. I'm going to be that archetype. Yeah.
And they prop up, the villains are the ones who prop up your heroes, right? They create the archetype, they create the celebrity, they create the role model, when really, if we went out in our communities and had our own experiences outside of, I'm basing this on my own life. Like, I grew up with the internet, but I also grew up with one foot in real life too. Like, the internet had not completely taken over when I was a teenager. We were still in our MySpace eras. So we still had a little bit of real life to live. But I notice amongst, parents my age with children who are in elementary school, middle school, a lot of their socialization and a lot of even time with their family is spent on these devices. So you're forced to socialize alone in a room, and the things you do, the things you're excited about, seems to now center, at least with children, around what's going on the screen. And it's not real life, and those aren't real experiences. They are experiences, but it's so removed from how we're supposed to be living our lives.
And now with this new, they're like, this is the hockey stick, this is the bend, what they've changed with this opening up all the AI programs to everybody. Man, it's going to get even crazier. It's going to get even, and what's going to happen to these children? They should not, I swear, the shows, all of it. Elmo pushes so much crap,
Is
Keep
he
it
still
away.
going? I thought he would have been cancelled by now.
I think he's even on Twitter. I've seen.
I'll make that prediction at some point. Even Elmo will get cancelled.
that'll be on your bingo card. We're putting Elmo cancellation on the bingo card. Okay.
Yeah. But I was also going to say, in terms of that psychological effect, and I know this sounds harsh, and I don't mean it to be harsh, and I'm certainly not suggesting that you try this with most people. But the reason I want to mention it is because I feel there's a strong possibility that the system, in a way, is using its Achilles heel to try and kick people in the butt to do what they want. I know I'm being a bit obtuse, sorry, but that psychological effect of externalization to the system itself, that is, like I said earlier, a keystone to why I feel, anyway, we're experiencing a lot of the problems that we do, and why so many people are falling for the bullshit, the trickery. But unfortunately, because of the way they're trying to push people so hard, they're trying to kick them through the doorway during this decade, which is, why we've got Agenda 2030 and all this kind of rush push towards that date. In doing so, they are inevitably making more people wake up to what the fuck is going on. Because certainly, like the last 3 years have demonstrated, even though quite a lot of people fell for it to begin with, I think you'll find that the majority of them now, even if they won't say it openly because they feel ashamed or embarrassed or whatever, silliness, they've realized, yeah, I was tricked, I was fooled. This system is manipulating me like I'm just a number on a page. That helps open their eyes. That helps crack the denial barrier, the ice wall of the denial barrier. The classic phrase that so many people say is, oh, the government would never do that to us. Oh, that will never happen here. Just look at the track of the last 3 years and you'll see how so many things have actually happened and been done to us all because, yes, the governments do that. Yes, they will do that kind of shit. The government is not there to be your friend. It is certainly not your parent. You should not be externalizing your own responsibility for your own life to that group of people, because they will just abuse your energy. That psychological effect can be broken, but it requires a shock effect to occur to the person. So that's why I'm saying they keep pushing really, really hard, but in doing so, they're causing more people to realize they're being manipulated. So the trickle effect of that will accumulate. I think it already is now. We're seeing a strong swing back of more and more people saying, hang on a minute, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
See, they're fully aware of this. So they knew that this was going to happen, right? They knew that they were going to wake up a bunch of people by pushing them so hard, but they have so many other things that are in store that it doesn't really matter if they wake up a bunch of people, because they're all going to be fighting over food and water in the future anyways. And with the whole war thing, they're going to be completely distracted with that. Plus, they're going to hit us with the bird flu, which what I've been talking about since 2020. Mm-hmm. There's just too many things that are going to just wipe it all clean. It doesn't even matter. There's no way you can wake up enough people. We've tried for so many years. They're not going to wake up in time. Even the ones that are waking up, they're still stuck way back, I don't know, like 5-10 years behind us. They're not up to where we are now. Mm-hmm. Not to sound like a downer or anything like that. It's just, that's the reality we're facing here.
Well, I would ask the question, what do you mean by enough people? Enough people to do what?
Critical mass. I'm just talking about enough people that would be able to stop put a stop to things now kind of thing.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think I feel I've learned over the past several years of doing all this kind of YouTube stuff and interacting with people, talking about these subjects. I used to think that the entire thing could be shifted once we have a critical mass in terms of numbers of people who see this thing for what it is. And I think that's still a possibility, but that's not necessarily the way it will go. And it certainly isn't the only way that this thing corrects itself. I'm just thinking from the point of view, and I know there's a lot of people that equate what's happening now to the biblical texts and the kind of prophecy effect that comes out of those biblical texts. But in that respect, if we just wake up anyone, then that means there's some people who have the potential to survive this thing. The more people we wake up, the more people will survive whatever comes. You know, in the same way as Noah building an ark, and I've made that analogy before, you know, a lot of what we are doing is building a virtual ark. This flood, the flood this time is not a literal flood of water that you need a boat to ride on top of. This now is a flood of psychological and spiritual warfare. So what you need is people who are capable of standing their ground because they know themselves and they're willing to see their true selves in the mirror. You know, they don't need an illusion of a persona to pretend they're somebody else. And they will increase the potentiality of survival. And if even just one of us survives, that's one person in the future who can do that kind of Fahrenheit 451 effect of keeping this information alive, and then things can change from there. This relates as well to what I was talking about earlier about the fear of death. In the same manner, I feel one of the problems that plagues this sort of genre of information and media, especially in terms of like the so-called truther culture, that kind of thing, there is this egotistic problem where people want to be the one that makes things happen. People want to be Neo because then they feel special, like the same superhuman effect that is plaguing the people who fall for the bullshit propaganda. You know, people want to be Neo, and they're determined that they have to see this thing happen in their lifetime. They have to be the one that flicks the switch that causes everything to go back to goodness and loveliness. You know, that is a stumbling block. It's a bias, because look at the track of history, which we're often talking about and using it as a reference to what's happening now. But in the same manner, if you look at the track of history, sometimes these things don't change for multiple generations. And it's only because people like ourselves persisted that they survived whatever that current turmoil was. And after a few generations, they come out back into the good side of things again. So to me, this thing is sort of like, well, yeah, I agree with you, mate. This thing is rolling out, and it is such a giant snowball. We cannot like stop it from rolling. It's rolling out no matter what. But we can change our stance. We can alter our kata. We can maneuver around it and use its own energy against itself to benefit us. Yeah,
I'm still holding that hope for the hackers to tear it down. I'm thinking like some Ted Kaczynski was right T-shirts and stuff.
Yep.
Like,
I think we can wake up enough people. I'm in total disagreement. I think we can wake up people. I think people at their core, even the NPCs, are actually good people, and they have the propensity towards justice. But a lot of people are so stigmatized and so programmed that even in my own community, it's like we've reached a breaking point here where the normies are like, oh, well, something's happening now. And I don't think these things, these Agenda 2030s, these World Economic Forums, these things they repeat over and over, you'll own nothing and be happy. No, it's just a matter of people saying no. Actually, I'm gonna
collectively turn their backs. Yeah, they make a big difference.
I'm gonna own everything, and you're not gonna be happy.
Yeah, I agree.
We're repeating the cycle of the previous Depression, World War II. We're just repeating the cycle right now.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But even in my mom groups, these women who are the schmack scenes, I know we're on YouTube. They observe their child having these adverse reactions, yet they still get them. But they're waiting for some other mom to be like, listen up, bitch. Stop getting these vaccines. Your child is running 106 fever. Do you find a correlation here? Wake up. And then they do. And, you know, I have a lot of mom friends like that we use the term normies, but, you know, they really trusted their doctors because we're told to trust the experts, but they're actually starting to question for themselves.
Yeah. Well, it used to be that there were a lot of experts that you could trust. And part of what the system has done, part of what their plan was to destabilize every country, reduce the confidence in the governments, and that included the experts of academia, etc., etc. You know? That's where we are now. I think the majority of people have realized that the system has become so corrupted, even though it was from the beginning, but it's become much more overt now as it reveals itself. It has to step out the shadows to a certain degree to be able to kick this football as hard as it's trying to.
Well, and the experts are being retrained. For how long now has Singularity University been around? And they have all of the different kinds of experts come there to be retrained into this whole thing, which they have their exponential medicine I've showed where they're liars. Now they changed their name, just so everybody knows. Now it's Next Med Health. This is like their third name change or something, which isn't that a thing where they like to change their names a lot?
Yeah.
But
shell company within a shell company within a shell company.
Yeah. They're bringing in the legal people, the health people, the food, the everything. Every kind of expert is getting retrained there into this new digital world and how to be on top.
Well, I know you guys are aware of that kind of, again, referencing a historical effect or time period, the Great Leap Forward, in Mao's revolutionary China. There, it was extremely overt. It was literally in the streets when the academics were, beaten down and even killed, that kind of thing. In a way, we've had a similar effect for the past several years, but it's been done in a like George Carlin described it, it's happy fascism, it's smiley face fascism. So it's been done all along. It's been ongoing in the background while most of the public just haven't noticed the way it's been changed. But there has been a great leap purge where a lot of the older experts or academics or, whatever they were a leader in of their particular thing, they have been pushed out and they've been bringing in a whole new generation that has been propagandized by this ideology. I know we've spoken about this ages ago. Things like here in the UK, there's an institution called Common Purpose, and they have been actively working in the UK for quite a long time now, retraining people to be leaders in a similar fashion to the WEF's global leader thing, but on a more sort of national level. But it's the same kind of thing. So now we've got this coup that's been taking place in the shadows that has replaced most of the population of those institutions, as well as, of course, all the capture effect that's occurred across all the institutions. So now the system is overtly corrupt, because you have to be a bit naive to think that the big pharmaceutical companies didn't have a manipulation onto the government such that the governments told us all to do a certain thing. And it's a big circle. It's a big circle jerk of corporatism. And now that's more revealed to most of the public. But that's what I say. I'm optimistic that enough people will realize. I agree that this thing is moving in that rolling snowball fashion. You're not going to stop the snowball from rolling, but that doesn't mean we can't step around it or step over it or something.
You do the best you can, and when you know better about stuff, you do better.
Do what you can with what you got where you are.
Be the change you want to see, right?
Who was that quote from? Rose, was it Mrs. Roosevelt, I think, as far as I remember. Sorry, distracted myself. Just the quote immediately sprang to mind. But yeah, again, I feel it comes back to that kind of sense of the future, sense of something greater than yourself. This is key part of why they're so against people being of faith. whatever your faith is. They don't want people having a faith, because that creates a sense of the future and of putting your energy into something that's more than just yourself. They don't want that. They want people that are pessimistic and see nothing but the inevitability of the takeover of the machine. So I might as well turn myself into a transhuman and be a pet for Elon's AI. No, you don't have to do that. That's just what they are suggesting to you. Like a bad car salesman, they're trying to sell you the shittiest car on the lot. You just say, no, thank you, I'm not interested, and go the other direction. I think it's true that, as I was trying to describe, there is a bias for a lot of people where they feel like they're going to see it happen in their lifetime. They're going to be the one that makes some major change occur. And yeah, maybe you do. That's great. It's brilliant if it is you. But I feel strongly that you should not focus on that, and that should not be your drive. That should not be the thing that makes you do what you're doing. If you think you're only putting your energy into this protest or resistance, or whatever you want to call it, or just trying to live a better life, you're not doing that just because you want to see this thing happen now. I think we have to be more stoic about it and say, look, it might not happen in my lifetime. It might be my children that cause this change to finally take place.
It's that whole quote, men plant trees that they'll never sit under, or something like that. That's not the quote, but something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I think this is why they've tried to steer people into materialism, where they can be convinced that things only exist for a certain period of time and then they get reprocessed, unless, of course, our technology gives us immortality, or the denial of things like spirituality, faith, an existence beyond just what you can physically see or touch, etc., etc. They don't want people looking that direction, because that gives them a sense of the future and of optimism. And when they meet other people of like mind, that creates a unification that the system does not want, because that means it has to expend energy dealing with those people. The biggest resistance you can put up to this system is being able to get on with other people who can actually see a future for all of mankind that doesn't need this system doing what it does. If that makes sense. You often find that in religious people, because again, they've got something that gives them a sense of the future and of unity with others of a like mind. But I think we need something that's more overarching than that, more available to more people, because not everyone wants to be a particular faith, or any faith at all even. So there's nothing wrong with materialism and being able to apply scientific method to the world we see around us. Yeah, that's great, but materialism is not reality. Materialism is just a perspective for interpreting reality. Sorry, I've jumped off the cliff there with that one. Am I going too far? I can talk about the sun if you want.
No, you're not going too far. You're not going far enough. Because if you
Yeah.
listen to Harari and those guys, they are talking about a hackable you.
Yep.
You are hackable now,
Yeah.
right? That means you have no control. They can insert something into you and they can hack you.
Mhm.
And to what level, and to what degree, or what's the goal there,
Mhm.
right? Their thinking is not human anymore. You're not a person. Your free will does not exist in their mind anymore.
just
They
a
control
cog.
it. It's a controllable thing. It's a manageable thing, right? You're too dumb to think for yourself, basically. That's what they're saying. So
Well-
here's the AI to think for you. Here's the smart device to, be smart. And most smart devices I used are not smart at all.
They certainly don't make you smarter. Yeah.
No, but a hackable human, that's a scary, future.
Very.
But that's what I'd ask somebody like him. If I could even bring myself to speak to him without just, doing something silly like trying to slap him or something. But anyway, I'd like to ask him, well, if that's true, mate, why do you need to create super intelligent AIs? Because if you're capable of using your technology to supposedly control all the human beings through that kind of manipulation such that they've got no free will, then you can make those human beings do whatever you want. So why do you need an AI that's more intelligent than human beings?
Because it takes a really long time for the human beings to edit and manipulate and change the tiny life to do stuff, like,
Yeah.
and which makes the people do stuff. Like the machines, they do it all so fast. Yeah. They never get it all done.
He's also admitting, he's tacitly admitting that he himself is not capable of dealing with other humans. Both doubly, because both it's implying that he wants an AI to deal with you dirty humans so he doesn't have to. But also, like I say, it's a tacit admission that he's not clever enough to manipulate people in that way. He needs to create some kind of AI to do it for him. That's how incapable he is compared to other people that are alive today and have ever existed in history.
Who's the
Well, it's a
he? Who are
question of
we talking
scale,
about?
isn't it? Scale.
Yuval Harari. Yeah.
Oh, that guy.
It is about scale. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of what they rely on. When there's only a handful of you have to rely on the scale of numbers to create a shield between you and anyone that might oppose you. When you've got 10 times your number as personal guards and then 10 times that number as enforcers, it's a scalar effect.
Well, and they made the machine, so it's just like an extension of them and their power, right? Like they're the ones that are making all of this happen. But
it won't be in the long run.
No, but it was in the beginning. So
this is again one of those reasons why I often recommend to people that they look at science fiction, whether it be the printed version or movie version, whatever. There's a lot of those kind of questions that have been addressed in science fiction literature for a long time. And it's been observed so many times that if you just apply some logic, it's just a simple philosophical equation of what will happen if we create an artificial intelligence that's more intelligent than ourselves. That's what Elon was talking about. These people like Yuval Harari are basically suicidal because they're actively creating a gallows for themselves. They think they'll be immune from it. But if you keep progressing down this direction, no, you'll get eaten by it just the same as the rest of us, mate. So basically, you're telling me that you're suicidal and you're building yourself your own little virtual gallows to kill yourself with. Sorry, I'm not suicidal. I'm not interested in your machine that kills people.
Yeah, no, but how many is he gonna get, push over that cliff with him when he jumps? Right? Because, he has a lot of followers and in meaningful places. Right?
It's the global effect, I think, is the defining difference this time round in the track of history. Because there's been so many incidents of people similar to himself in history that have made similar claims, and ended up causing people to be killed. Like, Jonestown is a really good example. But, that's them and their current obsession.
like I was already saying before, the extinction situation for the very damaged people. They talk in that one Ed Regis book, the Mambo chicken and the transhuman condition or something like that. They talk all about how they're so excited to upload, like to be in the machine, to like that's where they plan to live, being so broken as they are.
That gives them immortality, essentially, in their eyes.
Yeah, and they can jettison off to some other planet. They say just a little contraption that's got a digital to biological converter, use whatever resources are on whatever rock they land on, and reprint themselves. That's what they talked about in the book. Like they want to, but I mean, to continue in this physical existence. Some of these people, I mean, like that Ben Gertzel guy, you listen to him talk and you could tell he's sick. You know, there's not mental, I'm not saying, I mean, probably, but the, like ill, like broken body. I don't know. So what do they care if they are going to get pulled over the cliff if they're dying anyway? I mean, we're all dying, obviously, but they're all screwed up, and their children are all going to be screwed up.
Maybe
So,
like Kurzweil, they're hoping that they're going to survive just long enough that the downloadability invention will come along before they actually die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's been doing for years now. He's got some ridiculous diet and supplement regime that he follows because he said it himself. You know, I'm just trying to live long enough so that we can get the singularity activated.
Yeah. Yeah. He wants to be Raymona. She dresses like a hooker. It's funny.
To me, it just seems back to front, but that's, you know, my personal perspective. That, you know, my opinion isn't going to change what they're doing or talking about. But I think, you know, this is why more of these kind of conversations need to be happening. Even though I've been sort of throwing shade in terms of the digital environment, the internet environment, in that classic double-edged sword effect, you know, there are ways we can be making use of this technology in a kind of culture jamming fashion, or like, you know, hopefully getting information out to other people, to the rest of the public, even if you have to do that in subtle ways by doing it through things like satire and parody, you know, like parody songs like the Media Bear guys have been doing for years. You know, this is, I feel, where the system is absolutely wanting to centralize. And part of what centralization does is it has to restrict communication. You know, it can't have people going around willy-nilly. And as well, technocracy is obsessed with efficiency. So they have to be surveilling us all constantly. So the more we go different directions, the more we look at other ways of doing what we do without using them or their system, the better it's going to be. You know? If the system insists on centralizing, then we need to be decentralizing. And that means more people need to be having these kind of conversations, not just going onto the internet to find somebody else that's doing it already. I know that might sound a little bit self-defeating, but part of what I've been doing with my channel anyway for years in this internet environment on this YouTube platform is reminding people that all I'm doing is like making use of an internet connection, a little bit of technology, so that I can speak my opinions and ideas to the rest of the public. Yeah. The more people we have doing that, and I don't mean telling the system everything about your life and your personal fears and desires, etc. No, talking about these kind of subjects, because if we don't have more people aware of this shit, the more likely they're going to get away with this shit. Yeah. But I've been doing this with the attitude of I'm not self-promoting. I've never tried to like really push the channel and make it big or anything like that. If people don't know, this is actually the second channel because they deleted my original channel because I wouldn't shut up about the recent last 3 years of stuff that's been happening. But I've never really tried to push it into the mainstream of the conversation because I think people have to be self-motivated. So if they are always relying on somebody they see on a screen on the internet to fix the world for them, then we're still stuck in that externalization problem.
We're in a cult. It's called QAnon, if that's what they're doing. Just waiting on somebody on their screen. Just sit there and wait for the next update.
Yeah. Wait to see the guy in the white rabbit costume.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be your Q. The Q for Q.
Trust the plan.
But I'm only saying that because, again, I'm trying to encourage people with, the sense of optimism. There are many fantastic people out there that you could be talking to. There's many people with lots of amazing knowledge and ideas and perspective on what's going on. And the more we're communicating with each other, even if it is that you're just talking about the latest chicken that you've been breeding, we were talking about that before we started on air. That is the kind of communication that we all need, because it's from that communication that we grow and develop. Think about it this way. This whole technology has been an attempt to create a kind of worldwide telepathic network, because for most of us as physical beings, we haven't or can't maybe develop true telepathy within ourselves. Some people claim they can, but whatever. So the system created a pseudo telepathy for us with this internet communication network. But that gives us the ability to be in communication. And as I say, through communication comes growth. Because as a being, we only develop into this world by communicating with the outside world, including people, but your senses are a mode of communication with the external reality. So the more information you've got access to, the more your brain can develop and grow. Your mind can explore new areas that you've never conceived of before. I'm probably sounding just a bit poetic, but in the same way, like I'm saying about centralization. The system would be happy if it can centralize all communication and everything has to go through them. That is literally what they're trying to activate right now. They're trying to set up systems that mean you cannot use this technology in any way unless you are identified by the system and given permission.
That's what the blockchain's all about. That's
Yep.
why they created it.
Yep.
Perfect record of everyone.
The more we do this kind of thing, the more we are creating that decentralized overgrowth. You don't overthrow the system, you overgrow it. In both the metaphorical sense, psychological sense, spiritual sense, and physical sense of growing your own food and things like that. This system has revealed itself to be the mafia of a small cabal of very sick people. People are not only physically, genetically sick, they're also psychologically, spiritually sick. So we just need to outgrow them, overgrow them. I still use the same suggestion I've done for years. Round them all up, gather them all together, put them on one island and give them one hammer between them and let them build their technocracy that they seem to so much want.
Yes, if you want the city on the hill, here are the tools. We'll be over here. You can have your city on the hill and be, elite there.
Yeah. I feel we're being generous, giving them a hammer. That's a vitally important tool. When the first person who invented a hammer showed his friends what he could do with it, they all thought he was superhuman. They were running around the neighborhood telling everyone, "Oh, you got to get one of these new things. It's great, man. Everybody's doing it. Everybody loves it. It's fantastic." Oh. Again, I feel like I've driven it off a cliff. I'm trying to be optimistic and yet still face what this thing is.
No, I appreciate the optimism. I do. I understand the realism aspect of it, and I don't want to blow rainbows at people or anything like that, but some good news, some good vibes are occasionally warranted, because we get stuck in this hole of this echo chamber of this reality in which we live, this scripted sort of reality. And there are good aspects, of course. There are these threats that are inevitable and that they've told us about. But what are we to do with all this information? What can we make of it? And what are the actionables there? What can we do in our real lives?
What is...
Yeah, you got to grow food. somehow.
What is relevant to your world? You know, I'm saying it that way, as in your world, as in what is your life? You know, are you ending up in a world that they've created for you because you just keep accepting whatever they tell you? Or do you see the world differently to the bullshit they're telling you?
Yeah. I mean, I see the world totally differently, of course, but I mean, it was kind of rhetorical. I think the answer is different for many people. You know, not everyone can grow their own food, but like Camille was saying, like get with your local farmers. We're going to make propaganda for the Amish, so they're on our team. And and I think we can move forward if we have strength in our own communities. I think those are the actionables. And like even this year, I feel I live in the middle of nowhere. You know, I live in a cabin in the middle of the woods, but been connecting with a lot of people in my own community, and they're so desperate, and desperate probably isn't the word, but they're hungry for this sort of action plan to live outside of the system, use the system to live outside of the system, but to live outside of the system. And I think that's not an anomaly here. I think that's everywhere. I think people are, but they're waiting for someone, because we're also polite, you know. We're
You
supposed
Canadian too? No, just kidding. I know
we're
you're not.
supposed to well, we say yes, ma'am, and please, and you know, God bless your heart down here and stuff like that. We're just so polite, and it's like we're meant to trust this authority from the time we're very young, because the government's our babysitter. And to go ahead.
I was just gonna say I live on the island of authority followers now, but at the same time, all the people that live here have the skills to survive pretty much any storm thing that happens. Like there's this thing here that whenever a storm's coming, they all rush out to get chips. They get chips because they're already prepared in every other way. So all they
Like
have to do is
potato
get
chips?
Yeah,
Potato
they call them storm chips. They rush up to get their storm chips, but it's because they already have all their wood, they have their generators, they're all prepared in every other aspect. But they're huge like authority followers at the same time. It's really weird. Very weird dynamic.
I think it's fair to say, or it's true to say, that authority in and of itself is not bad. You know, it's the people in that position, or the people who have either been given or have tricked their way into a position of authority. You know, it's how they utilize it, how they implement it, and what exactly they do with it, that kind of thing. So the concept of authority, the concept of experts, they're not per se bad automatically. And same with the technology. It's not bad per se, but it's how it's implemented and how it's used, and the people who have their fingers on the buttons. You know, if you got some sensible people in positions of authority, that's great. You know, in the same way as it, like I know I often talk about the bullshit experts and how they've been messing everything up by putting these so-called experts on the screen in front of the public, etc. But there's also a truth, an absolute truth to the reality that if you're in certain situations, you want the person who has knowledge and experience and skill in that situation to be leading the front of the group. You know, I classically use the kind of naval analogies. You know, if you're on a ship, somebody has to be the captain, even if that's only as a titular position, as in, you know, he's the sort of the end of the line if you have any questions or queries about what's happening. But when it comes down to it, the ship really is run by the entire crew. The captain just makes suggestions about what they should be doing next, you know, and everybody relies on that captain's skill and experience and knowledge, etc. That they go, okay, yeah, we got confident that you're telling us the right thing to do. But when it comes down to it, you know, every crew can mutiny if their captain turns out to be a psychopathic arsehole that wants to control everyone and take all their stuff. You know, Herr Klaus, you've owned nothing? Because no, mate, I own everything. Didn't you know? I'm fucking emperor of the universe, mate. It's about time you realise that. I've got the crowd and everything. No, I'm being silly, but hopefully you get my point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go ahead, Camille.
I was just gonna say I thought of it another thing. If people are going to use the computers for a little proactive, good little project, like I subscribe to a bunch of African YouTubers, and it is like they're on the build them up slide of the tear them down. You know, they're on their, they're getting big, they're giving them money. Like it's the way to make money there, and all over the place there. And like they're getting their Netflix and they have their smart homes and all this stuff. But people could go, there's some tiny little channels. I don't know. There's also bigger ones that they're pushing that this is a way to make a living and this is that. And it's like, no, we're over here going, no. And tell them that'd be good. There's tons of them.
Don't believe the propaganda about retraining in cyber.
Yeah. Oh, and they go and film their village, or they go around traveling and things, and that's what they do. They come here, like the one lady, she was just in some US city and she's filming the homeless going, oh my gosh, look what it's like in America. And this is, but I'm just saying, if people wanted to, if they can leave comments, places, if they show up.
There's been
we'll reach out.
Even though there was the several months ago, political scandal here in the UK about the way some of the original Jamaican immigrants were brought over here in the 50s and 60s. You know, it turns out that they weren't given citizenship and stuff like that. And some of them ended up getting sent back to their country of origin. You know, even though they've been living here for decades, they've got families here and everything. There seems to be more of a push towards getting the British public acclimatized to having a completely mixed population that comprises, more people from Africa and the Middle East, seemingly, than anywhere else. You know, makes you wonder why people in those regions want to immigrate here. But I know that's a long-standing argument that people have been having for years there.
I watched a TikTok the other day where they interviewed all these young people on the streets of London. And their main question that they were asking people was, do you think there's too many white men? And and all of them said yes. They were all like, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Way too many white men. Absolutely. And it makes you wonder. It does really make you wonder, doesn't it? What the push is behind all of this immigration. Because do those people in the country, I'm not talking about like war-torn countries, like that's awful, but at the same time, all of our wars are manufactured and funded by bankers. But anyway, I digress. It makes you wonder what the push is behind that, and if those people in these countries actually want to come here. Do they actually? Because here in Georgia, in Kennesaw, which is like 15 minutes away from me, they're building this village for Afghanistani immigrants, and it's like a huge village of pods, by the way. And do those people want to come here? I wouldn't think so. And I would think by coming here, and it's not the women and children, it's just like the men of a certain age. I would think that they have no connection to the country in which they reside, which they've been, just forced to be in here, and they have no connection with the people here either. So it makes them sort of otherly from start to finish, and that's not good.
Well, it's perfect if you want to completely change the society of the United States, its identity and all that stuff. You bring in people that don't have a heritage, and then you can just rewrite everything.
Yeah.
Especially when they're encouraged to join the enforcer classes of whatever form, because then they have no consideration for the people that they are enforcing the authority over. And that's certainly been true here in the UK for quite a few years now. I can get a bit pessimistic about that point. But, I see the optimism angle is that there again, it comes back to people refinding their sense of self. And part of that sense of self is that you come from a family that's part of a larger group, a tribal group of your ethnicity, your genetic lineage, etc., etc. I'm not talking about nationalism, because I think nationalism is where the system steps in and appropriates all of that goodness of how we work together as a team, that kind of community, tribal grouping effect. Part of what the government, the idea of government does, is it replaces what used to naturally take place within a tribal group by a genuine consensus of the people that made up that tribe. Yeah, the system steps in as it's taken that over and created a replacement for it, such that now you try and remind people, when I refer to where I am here with this culture, you try to remind people about that kind of stuff. They go, yeah, I'm proud to be British, mate. I'll defend the flag. I'll stand up for the Queen and the national anthem. Yeah, mate, I'm British, man. So you favour supporting the British people, or you favour supporting the British system, the corporation. There is a very distinct difference. The people who live in this geographical region could survive quite happily if the entire concept about royalty and the British royals and the flag and the government, if all that disappeared overnight, the people would still get on with their day-to-day lives and would still consider ourselves connected by a group cultural connection. You know, this kind of idea of nationalism, it's not connected to the people. It's connected to concepts of things like corporations. You know, the royals, the monarchies are all corporations. So the reason I'm saying this is in that sense of part of why they're shifting other people around the world like that is because it dilutes and dissolves that sense of cultural connection to your own tribe. It doesn't mean you have to be two tribes fighting against each other, you know, like Frankie Goes to Hollywood. When two tribes go to war, money is all that you can score. You know, they like to make lots of money out of war. But my point is that the more people you bring in who are from a completely different cultural group, a different ethnic group, a different tribe, the more you dilute the one that is present, if those people have no sense of the history of their own ethnic and cultural group.
I also wonder somewhat too, like it's bringing, like, not all places have maybe the same medical system and all the stuff, all the infrastructure set up to like be putting the fluoride in the water and all the things and then seeing what it does. I know the place where I come from, it's a giant melting pot. There's like this institute that brings in, I mean, so many different kinds of people. It's amazing. And you know, I recently had occasion to buy a bunch of like home goods stuff for like a half price Home Depot. There's like this two they're Iraqi guys, and they're awesome. They were hilarious. But the one guy's wife, you know, all the water and all the stuff. Her thyroid's all screwed up, all these things. So it's like, it brings in more guinea pigs to sample. They've got these people to see what happens to this type of because where you come from affects who you are, you know, the epigenetics and everything. So they're getting more tests and more samples, guinea pigs.
Increasing the diversity of the sample group.
More data. Yeah.
Hey, I gotta go because the ducks are out on the ice and they're acting all wild and not coming back. So I gotta go help get them into the house before
I should
it gets
probably
dark.
Go soon too.
So
not for ducks. Not for ducks. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Cool. I hope you get them all
good
back in.
Quack.
Thanks for joining in. Right?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was an awesome conversation. But yeah, I gotta go do that now. So.
Okay. See you again soon.
Good to talk to you, Ben.
Yeah, you too.
Bye, Ben.
Bye-bye.
See you all later. All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Good night. For everybody watching and listening, there is a link to Anonymous's YouTube channel in the info under this video, under this live stream. There's one for Please Stop the Ride channel as well, but I haven't put one in for Really Graceful because I didn't realise. I know I was rushing to get set up again. trying to find that intro music.
Oh yeah, and before we go too, or before I go, I'm started a Rumble channel, but I don't have the time to load everything in, so slowly it's been loading. It's been months now. They've got the 2 latest videos that I did, but I did subscribe to the channel there. So you guys trying to get to that go live thing. If there's a few more people, people up there in the chat, go subscribe to Pete's channel on Rumble. Is that in there? So you guys can be multi-streaming more.
I'm not sure. Pete's put it in.
I will share the link. 1 second.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, please, anyone listening, we've been trying to encourage people to subscribe to the Rumble channel, because you have to have a certain number of subscribers to be able to live stream there.
Oh, I didn't know you had to have a certain number of subscribers to live stream there.
Yeah.
Camille, it's gotten all your videos up?
No, it only has the first 2.
Oh,
it's everything else is still pending.
Why
it's been
is
months.
It so slow on there? It's so slow.
I mean, they encourage you to go and do it on your own, but it's like, well, you offer this service, and I don't have the time to sit there and load.
No, I can't. I refuse to do it on my own. You need to do it for me.
Well, it's been months, so I don't know if anybody knows anybody at Rumble. Good word, that'd be awesome. But it's got the 2 latest in there anyway. But yeah,
I haven't connected it to mine yet. I've set up a channel for myself on there, but I haven't linked it to my YouTube.
Well, get yourself a cup of tea to wait. While you wait.
Well, I haven't done my actual YouTube account that I'm using now, the Hairy Cookie Monster Lives one. I've not done much with that channel at all, because it's stuck at that point again where you have to upload so many hours worth of stuff, and you have to have so many subscribers before YouTube will let you live stream. Oh. So that's why we've been doing it this way. I can live stream to my Odyssey channel. We can share it onto Pete's channel. Pete's been very kind to use his channel for us to broadcast onto. But I can't live stream to my actual YouTube channel. Maybe one day going into the future, I'll just bore the shit out of people by uploading hundreds and hundreds of just crappy little short videos. Yeah.
All at one time?
I could do, yeah. Just one after the other, just bombard YouTube with it. Supposedly that's the trick to accumulate the number of hours you need to be able to live stream. Because it is just a matter of, they want to see that you've got a certain amount of content before they'll give you the permission. So you have to get permission to be able to talk in public. Especially when you're talking about subjects like we do. But it has been like 2.5 hours ish since we started, I think. Yeah. 2.5 hours. So if you want to wrap it up at that, I think that's a fair enough amount, because I know people's attention starts to drift once you get up to around 3 hours. I like listening to the long broadcasts and stuff, but I think it reaches a conclusion after about 3 hours, and it can often drift off into,
You remember when Jeff used to make 7-hour live streams?
Yeah. That was when I ended up, I tried to keep up with it, but I couldn't. I ended up watching them in chunks. So
I would always ask, I'm like, how do you even have anything to talk about for 7 hours? I max out at 3 minutes exactly. And then I'd be like, I had so many questions. Like, you don't have to get up to pee, nothing.
That was what the video clips were for bathroom breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, or you put a music track on.
Yeah.
I decided it'd probably be better to not put any music in this for now. I'm just worried. I don't want to tempt the algorithm to be upset with us any more than it may already be. So I won't play any music. But yeah, that's what I often do. Play a music track and I'll run to the loo in between.
Some of those shows, there's a lot of music.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think if you've got the passion for the subject matter, you can talk continuously. I know I can. I know Jeff could. But that was one of the reasons why I liked what he did. I liked the way he did it. because he would just talk from the heart, not trying to pretend to be something that he wasn't. That's the main thing. That's probably one of the most valuable commodities at the moment on the internet is authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The system is really trying hard to create a fake authenticity with all the paid influencers that they have out there.
Well, and then what it rewards, like even on my end, there is certainly a distinction in what the system values and wants to promote and what they don't want you to talk about at all. So, they'll let you get views on certain things, but not on others. And it serves to reinforce behavior, like some kind of Pavlovian sort of system.
It's negative reinforcement.
Yeah.
Well, in the UK, they refer to it as the nudge, that kind of nudge technique that they've been using all along. But yeah, it's negative reinforcement. They're not outright banning you necessarily, but they will give you a little slap. They put you on the naughty step for a week. And it is Pavlovian, yeah. They're trying to retrain people's behavior. So that again is why I say it's why we need more of this kind of thing, where people are just getting together and having a conversation. There's no agenda, there's no scripting. It's just people talking about subjects that they're interested in, they have knowledge about, they're passionate about, etc., etc. The system hates that. It wants us talking about what it wants us to talk about. And I'm sure there's some subjects we have talked about tonight, which, the system is feeding a lot of misinfo out there deliberately to get people with those subjects, to manipulate, like the stuff we talked about Yuval Harari. All that shit he was spouting about no more free will. He's just magical thinking because he's just wrong. It's as simple as that. He's just incorrect. But the system puts that in front of as many of the public as it can because it wants them to be thinking that way. Again, decentralized. Talk about what you are passionate about. Please, I'm just saying this as a piece of advice. Please don't pretend. I don't agree with the fake it till you make it kind of thing. If you've got some knowledge, share your knowledge. Or if you're just passionate about a subject, talk about it. You don't need to necessarily have a certificate or credentials. Don't believe that fallacy. It's literally a logical fallacy when people say to you, oh, you can't talk about that subject. You're not a biochemist. It's like, really? Is that how you think? Are you speaking to me in language? Are you using words?
You're not a doctor. You can't give us medical advice and tell us not to drink the fluoride, whatever it is.
Are you a qualified linguist? No. Then stop using words. You're not allowed to use words anymore because you're not a credentialed linguist. It's idiotic. It's a fallacy. You can talk about whatever subject you want. It's just credentials give a way for people to have context that you have a certain amount of knowledge or understanding of a certain subject. That's it. It's not an authority license that you're the only one to talk about something. Right. Okay. Well, let's wrap it up. I'll say thank you. I didn't do a shout out of all the people in the chat simply because we were rushing to get started. I was rushing to get started, and I could see that there were lots of people joining the chat. I thought if I start doing a shout out, we're going to be doing nothing but that for like 2 hours, just reading names of people in the chat. So I apologize. I didn't do the shout out this time. But thank you to everyone that's joined in the chat. Thank you if you've listened all the way through. And thanks to all the lurkers that are not necessarily saying anything in the chat, but you're listening, you're watching anyway. And the time travelers that will watch it later after the live broadcast when it's a video. Thank you for your attention. The most valuable thing you can offer us at the moment.
Thanks for all the new subscribers.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
It was great to have you, Grace. Glad you came.
Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Cool. Thank you.
Did that as well.
I would show it on camera. Hang on. Let me flip my camera on for 2 seconds. And I've got to show you, I've got Gracie's book here.
Me too. I
haven't made much progress into it so far. I think I've only read about the first 3 pages. I'm
in the B's.
I'm
on 53. Sorry, page 53.
I was hoping to have this week off, and part of what I was going to do. There you go.
Oh,
got
you
the
got
rest
it.
of the week.
There's the book. I was hoping to sit and just read through this week, but I will. I've been deliberately trying to take a little bit of time off from the internet stuff just to do nothing, basically, as much as I
Doing
can.
nothing is the best. That's what I did for a solid week after I published that book. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But again, it's one of them things that I do advocate for people. You know, take a break. You don't need to be online 24/7. It's a really good idea if you can go out into nature for, say, at least 3 days. Not necessarily go out camping or anything, but even go for a walk 3 days in a row out in the nature, something like that. And that helps cleanse all the shit out of your psyche. Gives you an opportunity to digest all the information that you've just had saturated into your brain and feed on the good stuff and excrete the crappy stuff. Because your brain works very similar to the way your gut works. You take in a whole load of information, but not all of it is good for you or useful in any way, you know. So every so often you have to take a bit of time out to just purge all of that crap out of your mind and get away from all their bullshit for 5 minutes. But anyway, sorry, digressing again. I forgot to show that one screen share as well. I'll show it quick. This is one of the link that you put in.
Oh, that was mostly, I was sending that for Pete because he was talking about their farming changing. And I remember I said that to you before. And I didn't have your email, Pete. So I sent it to Cookie, but it made me think of you guys. So.
Thank you.
And they're still beavering away at that. The thieves and pirates that they are.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Leave it at that then. Thanks again. Thanks, Grace, for joining in. It's been great to talk to you.
It was nice
Camille.
to chat again.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you, Cookie, Pete, Camille. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for everyone in the chat who showed up.
Oh, yeah. And Ben, you're gone, but hope you got the ducks.
Yeah, hopefully you did. Yeah, I like duck eggs. So I was thinking of myself then.
Cookie's like, I'm hungry now.
So, yeah, ducks. Yeah, cool, man. Duck eggs, they're great. Thanks again, folks. We'll see you again soon. Cut cheese.
Bye.